Um, so, abuse reparations is the topic today for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are not focusing on all of the details of the evil of abuse. We are focusing on the different types of abuse that these women had to deal with, the awareness that they gained from it, the way they took that awareness and coupled it with their uniqueness and greatness in them, and the way that they are making those awakenings pay them back. So, literally, that is them pulling from the jaws of uh, the state that lost the war, which was abuse, paying them back for the damages that they suffered during that war. Um, Miss Susie Wolder Williams, owner, baker, chef at Susie Sweet Treats, was explaining to us that she has experienced these different types of abuse. She talked about physical, she talked about emotional, she talked about verbal, and she definitely talked about spiritual. And I want to emphasize that if you look in the event later on this evening, those JPEGs that I put in there give the different types of abuse. When it talks about spiritual or religious, guys, it literally is talking about either someone that forces someone to do what they believe, makes fun or ridicules or tries to make someone feel less than because of what they believe, or literally takes the scripture or whatever spiritual beliefs or writings that this person, the victim, believes in, and twist that stuff around their abusive behavior to get the victim to submit to this type of abusive behavior without pushing back, thinking that whatever God that they serve wants them to submit to this because of this scripture or that scripture or the other scripture. So, all those things that I named are all different types of spiritual or religious abuse. And so those are the things that Miss Susie was talking about that she experienced. Miss Susie, my next question for you is the awakenings that you got out of the abuse that you dealt with in this relationship. What part of the story do you feel like you need to share so that they understand where these awakenings came from?
Well, um, for me, it was a situation of progression. It wasn't
Mm,
that it was just all of a sudden I was in a 10-year abusive relationship. Um, it was, it started as a little girl, not anything at home. I had a beautiful home upbringing. It was awesome. I had mama and daddy and everything that you see for a family you had. But because I had eczema and I didn't look like all of the other kids, I started being teased and ridiculed and talked about and made fun of as a little kid. So the hurt started as a child, and
okay.
being told that you look like you have VD on your skin, and you don't know what VD is, you just know that it's not good because you have to wear bandages to cover because your skin splits and you don't look like everybody else, and people see that. Bullying and things have been going on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want
Mm-hmm.
to put it out there. I'm 61. So I'm not a young woman. So it started as a little girl, and then you close yourself off and you put on a shield of defense. I'm strong, I'm okay, it's okay. And so I didn't have a lot of friends in school. I wasn't popular in school because I didn't look like everybody else. I got talked about because I was very smart and I didn't have to work hard to be smart. I was just smart. And so I had a lot of hair, which I still got a lot of hair. So I got talked about for having a lot of hair, being smart, and not looking like everybody else because my skin wasn't perfect and flawless like most people's is. So I put a shield around me and I closed off. So then when I became a young woman, um, I was told by someone, oh, you don't have to do that. You're perfect like you are. People don't like you, blah, 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 blah. And so then I stopped wearing coats and sweaters. And I'm like, well, okay. But when I say a story of progression, that person used what's made me me and then turned it into the first abusive situation that I was in.
Okay.
It went from making me feel like I'm okay to the true story coming out that after I was okay and shed that, then I was verbally abused and then I was physically abused, hit. And this first person was 6'4", 336 pounds, was 56-inch chest, and I'm 5'0", 140 pounds. But back in the day, and I say my age simply because back when I first was abused, police didn't give a doggone.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
called them to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And he had broken into my home and he had destroyed it and left me a big pile of human feces in my living room and then set my house on fire. And I called the police, but because he was perched up on my front steps, they told me that I would have to go across the street, let him hit me in front of them for them to help me. So it wasn't like it is today that we were free to call the police for help. No, we were not. I was told by 2 police officers in front of my parents that I needed to go across the street, let him hit me in front of them, and then they would do something.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
So when I say a story of progression, that makes you withdraw even more. Because it's like I called for help, I did what I think I'm supposed to do, and the people who are supposed to protect and serve told me that they need to see me get beat up in order to do something. So it's a story of progression. So there again, here you are, young, afraid, and now it's like, ooh, it's bad. So there were several incidents with that person that is now dead. So it's neither here nor there anymore. But then I got married to my son's father. And this one was much older than me, knew me as a child, told me all the stuff you tell somebody that's younger than you. And no, I wasn't looking for a daddy figure. So that wasn't it. And no, it wasn't anything like they say women who are in abusive situations are either prostitutes or drug addicts or homeless or looking for a dad. I had a daddy who was awesome, best dad I ever knew. I had a family that was great. I didn't fall into the category. I didn't need anybody because by the time I met my son's father, I had been on my job since I was 19 years old, running computer systems. So it wasn't that I needed you. It was just big old Susie's right here or something. I don't know. I didn't know. And so because there was a family friend connection there, I felt safe. Okay. And I got married. I had my little son, and I almost died right after I had Ryan. A week after I went home, I went back to the hospital and they told him, and I guess my parents, I don't know, that I had a 10% chance of living. So while I was in there getting blood transfusions and trying to live so I could be a mom to my now 35-year-old son, I know, he packs my baby up in a duffel bag, smelling like an armpit, gives him to my parents and says, I don't want to be a father and a husband anymore. This is why I'm trying to recover from having my baby. I didn't know this because I was in the hospital trying to recover. Okay. So I get out of the hospital. My dad comes and picks me up and says, okay, you're coming home. And I'm thinking, okay, I haven't seen my baby in 10 days. He's gonna be at mama and daddy's cool. And I thought daddy was just coming to get me so I can go get Ryan and we could go home. I find out at this point that my son's father had stolen all of my things out of my home. He sold all of my clothes. So I went home basically in what I went to the hospital in.
Wow.
The baby's layette set was gone, everything. All I had was nothing except my family. And I thank God for that. But I had to start over again. By the time I was 30 years old, I had started over twice. I had been married twice. I had been abused by both. I thanked God when I turned 30 that I hadn't committed murder. To this day, 31 years later, the favorite thing about me turning 30 was that I lived through it. I had told my dad, take me to the nut house because I must be crazy. Daddy told me you're not crazy or you wouldn't know to ask. And Ryan and I stayed home until my baby was in kindergarten so I could heal mentally and heal physically and my heart could get right. And Ryan could have a stable home because at the time, mentally, I was just lost. I didn't get it. I got married the first time thinking I was going to be married like my parents. That didn't happen for me. When I had my son and his father wanted to go to treatment, I went as the concerned person and took my baby against my parents' wishes because I wanted to give him what I grew up with. It didn't happen. 2 days after that, he stole my wallet after the concerned person medals were given to us and told me later he found it on the freeway. The money was gone, but all my pictures of Ryan were still there. So, yeah, abuse, crazy, insane. So then I got right in my head and I went to church. I found a church. I gave my heart as an adult to Christ because I knew God. I just didn't do God. I was too busy trying to survive, you know? And so Ryan was brought up in the church and I delved into it because through all of this stuff, I became a workaholic. I figured if I worked hard and I worked and I worked and I worked, everything would be okay. And I just worked myself I worked twice as hard to get half as far in the corporate world. So I experienced workplace abuse too, because my director on my job at principal told me I could only go so far because he didn't like me.
Wow.
What did I do to you? He said, nothing. I said, why don't you like me? He said, because you're Black.
Okay.
Yeah. Told me I was the best person they had on the job. All of my reviews was off the chain. I got the best raises you could get, but I could only go so far because he didn't like me because I was Black.
Wow.
When they downsized me 23 years into that career, I was the only female on my team that was gone. I was the only Black that was gone. I was the one who trained, who wrote the curriculum. And 30 minutes after I was out the building, they was calling me for help because they didn't know what to do. But I was the one they got rid of. So there's workplace abuse. It's progression, I'm telling you. No one thing. But, you know, yeah. So then my baby decided to grow up because that's what they do. Hazel, they grow up. And I was no longer cool to be around because he was going into teenage years. And I tell everybody, do not get bored. Whatever you do, don't let that word penetrate your mind, because when your kids grow up and you're no longer fun to hang out with and you're no longer cool, and all you do is cook for them and they friends and feed them and get bored, then you meet people. And that's when I got into the 10-year situation, because my baby was growing up. He wasn't cool anymore. I had gotten church hurt because, you know, Brian and I were doing well outside of the church. And then you hear, well, you could have gave that money to the church instead of getting your own place and spending the money to have your own home. So there's a church hurt thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. You guys were okay with me when I was living at home, when I was down, when I was paying my tithes and helping pay for the church. But when I get strong and I get a home for me and my son, then you're not happy for me anymore. I'm good. I'm gone. So I quit going. And then I met the guy. And it didn't start off bad. It started off fun. You know, we would kick it. We would go walking and doing all kinds of stuff. And then it went bad. I started getting accused of screwing everything. I got talked about. I was called out of my name. I got called out of my name so much I had to go find a birth certificate and make sure I remember what my name really was. He never did any of this hitting or hair pulling or none of that in front of my son. Never in front of my son. Never. When my son was 16, however, he decided that, and I worked nights then. I got a third shift job over at Mercy. And he wanted to tell my son that if he could get high, he could go hang out while mom was at work. He could do whatever he wanted to do as long as he didn't tell me what was going on in the house. He wouldn't tell on him if he went places. Now my kid's in school. What? So like Ryan wouldn't tell me this because that's my baby whenever you get through, you know. So he didn't do any of the garbage around my son at all. But when Ryan wasn't around, it was a whole different story. It got to the place where it was so bad that I ended up losing a home, a house. I ended up losing my car because he would give my car to other people while I was at work or if I was asleep so he could get his drug fix. It got to the place where in order to go home, I had to go to Quick Trip, make sure I had some money, make sure I had a pack of cigarettes, make sure I had a 6-pack of beer. And then I would walk across the street to McDonald's and make sure I got the favorite meal. And then I would walk home and hope that was enough to keep me from having to get into a fight when I got there. I spent my time in my bedroom a lot. To this very day, I do not do closed in. I don't give a dang if it's in the bathroom. I'm not closing no door. I'm not little spaces where you could be hemmed up in them. Not going. Not going. I won't do it. I still won't do it. I wear my hair tight pulled. I used to wear my hair free and fancy. You get your hair pulled so much, I wear it tight now because that way, to me, it's safer. You can't get me. And I got a lot of hair, and it's pretty hair, but very rarely will I let it out. And when I let it out, I'm self-conscious still, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it touching me. I don't like it. So there are some things that you just, it's like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. But the weirdest thing about all of this is that I hold no ill will for any of them. And the sickest, saddest thing to me was that I was able to forgive them once I got out, but I didn't forgive myself.
Mm.
And I think
Mhm.
that's because I still didn't know my worth. You know, I didn't know. People would say, "Oh, you're pretty." And I'd look in the mirror and, no, I don't think so. I don't see it. I don't see it. I and got skinny because I thought, well, maybe if I'm skinny, people will like me better because I've always been healthy. That didn't change nothing. I've tried all these things that people, you see it and everybody's all ooh, and no. But I finally took this class with you and I was able to dig down deep inside. And I'm like, you know what? You need to forgive yourself. And out
Mm.
of that forgiveness came my peace because I am
Mm.
not my past. And it wasn't me that was broken, it was something within those people that hurt me that was broken.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
hurt people hurt other people. If you're not hurt, you don't feel a need to hurt anybody else.
Mm.
I
Mm.
am happy because Susie Sweet Treats was built out of stress relief. I
Mm.
baked out of stress relief. My job had me stressed, my home life had me stressed, and I would just bake. I would just bake. And then I found another church and I was like, well, okay, the women's ministry was kind of happening and doing some things. And I was like, well, I'll bake some cookies because we're having an event. And so basically, I would bake for free because I was never told to, charge anybody. It never even occurred to me. I just liked to bake. And then
Mm.
one day, a lady asked me, do you sell your stuff? And I'm like, no, I never thought about it. I just bake. She's like, you really ought to sell it. I had no
Mhm.
idea what to do. I had no idea how to go about it. I had no clue. So I took a master boot camp class at Evelyn K. Davis Center on business. I took a couple of cake decorating classes on my own, which didn't really help me because all the teachers were right-handed. I'm left-handed. So to me, it was backwards what they were doing. So I had to do it my own
Mm.
way because they tell you to spin and they're doing it like this. And I'm like, I don't know. So I just started doing it my own way, being left-handed. So it was kind of backwards. And right now, I'm so honored and so blessed and so happy because I have a 5-star rating with the Better Business Bureau.
Come on,
I have
sis.
my LLC.
Mhm.
I've gotten awards from the Iowa National Guard. I've baked for every Target in the Des Moines metro area, Ankeny, Altoona. All the Targets had me for last year Christmas. I baked for First Federal Home Loan Bank. I've baked for so many places. The National Kennedy Foundation's given me an honorary plaque, the Heart Association. I study because I have allergies. I study things for people with allergies. I'm a member of Kids with Allergies group, and I can do gluten free, I can do sugar free, I do good for you, good to you, whatever you like. I just love to bake. And I make pretty decent money. I spent all day baking today till about 5 o'clock. But I love it so much, and it gives me such freedom to know that even though I have to work outside the home now because COVID kind of killed the business as it used to
Mhm.
be. It no longer pays all my bills like it used to, but it's getting better. And I think
Good.
what makes me unique is the fact that I'm one of the few people that will individually package my stuff so that if
Mhm.
you have a graduation, you have a wedding, you have a business event, everybody's not touching and picking and touching, and you don't really know because COVID's not done. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know where their hands have been or who they've been exposed to. And I do individually wrap cupcakes, cookies, whatever it is, and it's all pretty and it's pictured on my Susie Sweet Treats page. But I think that's one of the things is keeping me to where I keep getting business. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for that. I am very grateful for that because it's a lot of hard work. I'm a one-woman show, but I like it.
But listen, let's not act like that one woman show isn't dangerous, okay? Because listen, so please give all your handles while we're talking about Susie Sweet Treats LLC. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Susie Sweet Treats or Instagram under Miss Susie, or you can call me. All of my information is on there. My business name and phone number and all that's on there. You can email me at srwolder.williams@gmail.com. Or call me. I answer the phone. I don't always answer the phone because I do work outside the home now. And I will go to work at 6 in the morning and get off at 5 in the evening. During the day, I'm not available right now, but I do check messages when I get home and I will call back when I can call back. But yeah, I actually love it. I love life right now so bad. It's so crazy. It's just insane. And I am so free in my heart and I'm free in my head and I'm available. I got 2 good ears and 1 closed mouth for anybody who needs it. And I just am grateful. So
Listen, we are grateful for you, Miss Susie. There's some things I kind of want to point out in your story and clarify. So I don't know if you guys caught on to the fact that Miss Susie talked about in every single relationship, she didn't just arrive at the dangerous point. There were moments where they set things in place to gain her trust.
mhm,
And then it progressed into dangerous areas. So I
mhm.
want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Nobody comes right up to you and just immediately starts with the
Ooh,
abuse. Whether it's in an intimate partner relationship, whether it's in a church relationship, whether it's in a friendship or family relationship, whether it's in a work environment, or whether it is an intimate partner relationship, there are things that are done, little gates and little back ways that are broken into first before the damaging behavior patterns begin. There was something else that I really want you to catch out of Miss Susie's story as far as the reparations part. She said she was stressed, so she baked. Okay.
mhm,
So instead of her saying to herself, you know what, I'm just going to bake and I'm just going to eat it, and then that's going to be the end of it. She made sure that she took what she was doing and pushed it outward. And
mhm.
so I want to say to any of you who might be dealing with situations right now, even if there are things that you do that are stressful to you, are there ways that you can push that out so other people can experience what it is you're doing? Is it something that is shareable? Because that is one of the first steps in reparations. Okay. If it's something you're doing that's shareable, then once enough people know how well you do that thing that you're sharing for free, you're literally building your customer base without realizing it. So when she started selling, people already were like, "Well, that's Susie, the one that makes that really good, this, that, and the other. Oh, I didn't know she was doing this for a thing. Well, I got a graduation coming up. I got somebody's party coming up. I got this coming up." And now all of a sudden, these people that she'd been sharing this with, really what was her therapy from the abuse, started to become something that could yield back to her. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about abuse. Yes, it grew out of the abuse. It was a byproduct of, it was something created to get her through it. But let's not just get through it, y'all. Let's make sure after we get through it that we find a way for that thing that we use to get through to pay us back. And that's exactly what she's doing. And I'm telling you, when every time we have a birthday at my house, it's Susie.
Yeah.
It's something. There's no question. My kids are like, so let me get my pictures together for what I want on my cake for Lolly to make it for me because this is what I need.
Ditto.
And no matter
Ditto.
what they okay, no matter what they dream up, she can do it. When I shifted from the way I was eating before to a mostly vegan diet, I was like, okay, I'ma still need to get my Miss Susie food though. What else gonna do?
It's a
And
household name.
so, okay, for real. It is. It's a household name. And she was like, okay, how about this? How about that? And I will just put in a plug right here for Miss Susie. Even if you just want something good and you don't know what good thing you want, just talk it through. Tell them what kind of flavors you like. Tell them what kind of stuff makes you happy. Even if it's just, you know what, I like sunsets. Sunsets make me happy. Guess what? I guarantee you from sunsets make me happy. Miss Susie got you.
I already thought of something.
That's what I'm talking about, y'all. That is what I'm talking about. Here's the thing, there was a specific resilient brilliance that she discovered about herself out of the stress of that thing. And she turned that thing to create abuse reparations. She says she loves herself now. She's forgiven herself now. Her heart and her spirit feel free. And I can just speak from experience. That whole freedom, that whole love, when you eat her stuff, you can feel that. When you're talking on the phone with her to figure out your order, you can experience that. When you go to pick up whatever it is you order from her, you get that all in your face, all in your space. And listen, in this day and age, when there are so many things that are so bad, so evil, so heavy, so rough, so selfish, so damaging, who wouldn't want to go into getting something that typically when you go to a Hy-Vee or a Walmart, you just go grab it and leave. And you might have to stand in some lines and people might act crazy. Change your experience. Okay. Not only did she get the abuse reparations that she deserves, but you can get some of that into your spirit if you get a chance to experience Susie's Sweet Treats. So on Instagram, on Facebook, go there and get that experience. Miss Susie, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us? But I just appreciate you. You know I'm
Well,
crazy about you.
I know. I love y'all too. I actually love Hazel so bad. It is so crazy. I actually baked her baby shower cake for my little Zoe before I even laid eyes on Hazel.
Mm-hmm.
Her cousin ordered from me from Chicago, and it was a I'm about to pop, and it was a popcorn cake. And why is my
So
baby
cute.
like popcorn? And this year her birthday theme was popcorn
She
treats.
eating it right now. She eating it right now. She got some popcorn in her lap right now. And I can't say your name because then it'd be a frenzy in the house
I
and
know I
like
had to
all
come
this
over.
cakes, pies. I'm like, but yes, and till
Yeah.
this day, here she comes now. Speak of her, but yes, and Miss Susie, you are so beautiful inside and out, and that's how we came about. Bless you, baby. My cousin ordering that marvelous. It was marvelous because it looked so beautiful, but then it tasted just so on point. That's a skill. So
Thank
when
you.
I started celebrating my children, I came back and we've been with it. And then
Every year. Yeah.
just sharing the experience with you, our talks, our personal talks, how you love on me and my daughters, and just who you are, spreading that in so many different ways, and being on a work buddy business. I found that as I continue to flourish and spread my wings, I would run into you and your husband on an
Right.
event that we were both working. So that felt so good on so many different levels. We were connected, and I appreciate your love. I appreciate sharing this moment with you as well.
I know, me too. Me
Honestly, yes,
too.
yes.
And one message I want to get out to our young women. And when I say young women, I'm talking our teenage girls, our
Mhm.
young girls. Stop calling each other bees and hoes and all those names, that heap abuse on one another. That is not cute. I don't care what the doggone song says. I don't care what the rap artist says. I don't care. We need to start loving each other enough to greet each other with words like queen, beautiful, princess, by our names, if nothing else. But when you run up to your girlfriend and say, hey, B, what's up? No, stop it. That just crushes my soul, because there's something inside of you that's broken. That is not good. That is not healthy. And that is not showing one another respect, nor is it showing each other love. And that's a message that I want our young girls to understand. Putting all that garbage on Facebook, stop it. Because all you're doing is reaping coals of garbage on you. And what you take in here is what goes here. And then it comes out of your mouth. And out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Stop speaking ugly to one another. Start treating one another with the respect that you want, with the respect that you deserve. Stop letting the world dictate how you treat each other. It's not good. And our young girls are getting lost in the shuffle before they even can grow up and become flowers and bloom. Don't wait till you're 50 or 60 to figure it out. Go into adulthood knowing who you are. And that's all. I'm done.
Oh, Miss Susie. You guys, that Susan Wolder Williams. Susie Sweet Treats. And you know what? The name is so appropriate because she is truly, she's a treat. She is. She is all of that. Her spirit, the way she speaks to you, the way she loves on you, because she just does. She just does. And I have to echo what Miss Hazel said. My children have obviously had a lot that they've dealt with. And, you know, when another woman who doesn't have to love on you loves on you, and you can feel how genuine it is and how generous it is, it touches you. And my girls love you to death. And you are their Lolly, you are their grandmother. They
Yes.
are crazy about you. And just the mention of your name always makes them smile. And
I
so
love
I
my kids.
appreciate you for that. I do.
Thank you. I
I
don't love
do.
them to death. I love them to life.
I love it. I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Miss Susie, thank you for sharing your story. Please stay
Thank
with
you.
us while we speak to Miss Hazel.
Yes.
Um, but man, thank you so much for sharing your story. You know, I
Thank
respect
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Miss Hazel Grace. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Come on up in here, Queen Hazel. So, again, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being willing to share here today. And I thank you for the love that I could feel in your spirit as we were listening to our sister share. I could feel that. I could feel you pushing that her direction as she was speaking. And thank you for that. You two are just amazing people. I can't even believe how blessed I am to know you both. That's amazing. Miss Hazel, I'm going to ask you the same thing first of all. What are the types of abuse that you had to deal with?
Um, the type of abuse I experienced was verbal, emotional, psychological, and spiritual. So,
Okay.
yeah.
When you say spiritual, how was it used? Was it, I'm going to figure out some verses to twist around what my behavior is? Or was it, I'm going to ridicule what you believe? Or is it, I'm going to force you to do what I believe? Or was it a little of all of those things?
It seemed so at one point, like I would listen to church sermons in my earphones, right? Just on a random day, just because that's what I needed in my mind at the time. Or, I needed to keep that word in my mind so I wouldn't break down in my physical. But anyway, um, he would hear it and it would just be a trigger thing for him. It would just piss him off, it would just piss him off. It just things like that would get underneath his skin. So then he would get upset and then blow up in the house, and it would stem from anything. But that would be one of the triggers, is just me listening to the word and things like that.
Got it. Okay. So in a minute, we're going to talk about awakenings that you had, and
Yeah.
then how those awakenings ended up moving into, wait a minute, I could take that and pair it with this and hold up. Wait a minute, that's a business right there. Before you got to those awakenings, what part of the story do you feel like they need to hear so that they can understand where these awakenings came from?
Um, I was really unaware of what was building up because, like it's already been said, things did not start out abusive at all. And me and that person were together for some time, and the personality and the relationship and the temper of the relationship, um, the temperature of the relationship, it was even tone. It was what to be expected. It was good. It was great. I was in love.
Mhm.
It was good. So, but then when things started changing, it I kept going with it because I thought that, well, I believe too, just what we're taught as young Black women, and some of us especially now, we think it's okay when it's like hood love. We think it's okay when it's, you deal with, oh well, he don't mean nothing by it. He just, we grow up, we so much more so for Black girls, we grow up seeing that. So I guess as you grow up, at some point we call sticking by their side.
Yes.
He'll get through it. It's, he went through this in the past, but now we're good. You kind of look up to that type thing. And so when little things started happening around the house, like disrespect, right? It's not little, but that's what you think it started out as, calling you out your name, getting an attitude for any reason, like anything, it became childish. So then I think about the times when he was jealous, things like that.
Mhm.
And so those were the beginnings. And then the longer the relationship goes, the more harsher the temperature and the experience.
Do you feel like you actually knew at the time, especially when you talk about the verbal and emotional parts, do you actually think you knew, hey, this person is abusing me?
No, I never
Hmm.
knew to call it abuse.
Hmm.
I never knew
Hmm.
to call it abuse. I was just like, at some point, I was like, you're mean. Oh, you being
Yes. Yep.
mean,
Yep. Hmm.
But then you like being mean. That's just, childish. He got an attitude. People go through their thing.
Yep.
But then like the verbal, like just slick with his mouth. Like who you like? Yeah,
Hmm.
who you think you
Hmm.
talking to? Things like that. Um, but yeah, it started out with that, like bullying you around the house, even. You know,
Hmm.
that was it. That was like the heaviest part of it. Bullying
Was
around
the
the
was the
house.
bullying? When
Right.
you say bullying, what do you mean by that exactly?
So childish. Um, anything to pick a fight. And then not
Hmm.
even that, but because like breaking glass around the house, hollering, destroying the house with,
Okay.
you know, getting close to me, or making hell for me in other parts, like involving my job that I was currently working at the time, destroying the car. I mean, it was just, you know,
And I'm going to point out here for a second, Miss Hazel, um, that you did not choose financial abuse, but were you aware that when a person is interfering with your ability to gain, keep,
mhm,
or reclaim finances, that that is financial abuse, including
mhm,
interfering with you
mhm.
at work?
Yeah, that was probably like the jealousy part of it because, you know, I was the breadwinner.
Ah,
So one of the
yep.
things where he like, you know, he would, the things that he did, I could have lost my job for. But why would you want to do
Yes.
that?
Yep.
I'm the breadwinner. It never made sense. Nothing made
Yep.
sense in the twilight zone of domestic abuse.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
even when you know it doesn't make sense, you know, for me, I I really believed that we were gonna make it. I really felt like, because I loved that person, and
Hmm.
I really thought that that person, that he loved me. I wanted us to make it. I had a whole nother vision in my head
Yes.
for it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that, because I believed in that so much, that's
Hmm.
what really like, I really wanted him to turn around. I was willing to stick by his side. The loyalty was too long.
Hmm.
So, but I wanted us to work. And then there was like good days mixed in with the other things. You know,
Absolutely.
it doesn't, sometimes it can string
Yes.
along. For me, it wasn't like it was prolonged. It was like when it was happening, it was booming. And then towards a certain point, the booms was just going off and off and off. And then, but you know, it was fragrance mixed with funk.
Hmm. Hmm. I wanted to help folks. Again, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, guys. And so as you're watching this recording playback, I want you to understand something about what Miss Hazel said. So she talked about that there were really great moments, and then there were booms. Then there were really great moments, and then there were booms. That is called actually a domestic violence cycle. See, you guys assume that are not familiar with domestic violence that it's a straight line. It's not. There are literally times that are called honeymooning times or love bombing times. And these are the times that he's very sweet, he's very apologetic, he's very kind, he's very thoughtful, he's all of these things. And then all of a sudden it switches to, I'm angry about every little thing. I'm not pleased with anything you do, no matter, even if it's you're doing exactly what I asked you to. Um, and then it is right back to, I'm bringing flowers, I'm being thoughtful, I'm cooking dinner. A person doesn't stay with someone who has a straight line of abuse. What causes you to stay is what Miss Hazel described. She said in the very beginning of the relationship, things were wonderful. We had a great relationship for a long time. So he made her believe this great thing that you saw, that's who I am. So what do we do when it starts going the other way? We stick around and wait for who we think we know to come back. Only that's not who he ever was. But we don't figure that out immediately because we're like, all this time, I know him. He's this, and this. But that was simply the love bombing stage. We just don't know that yet. So we
Right.
wait. We patiently wait and we stay loyal, like Miss Hazel just described, because number one, in the Black community, Black females are taught to support the Black man. So we
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
And then he taught us in the relationship early that he's a great guy because he showed us this really perfect picture and it looked amazing. When he takes the mask off and shows us his real self, We assume he's having a bad day, bad time. He's having some sort of crisis in his life. And we just need to stick with him so he gets past it so that he can get back to the person that we know. You can go ahead and pick up if you have more to say, but I really needed them to get that.
Yeah. And that's the whole of it. It was weird because I never experienced abuse before that. You know,
Mhm.
I never growing up, I didn't, and I really wasn't around domestic, physical, right? Like coming
Mhm.
up, I never really seen physical. So it wasn't something I was drawn to. I was in my late 20s. Um, I've never had an experience like that in any other relationship. So it was heartbreaking. It was weird. And I couldn't believe it was happening to me,
Yep.
you know, because I'm like, I'm not no wet leaf, you know, I'm not a pushover. It mentally or physically, but mentally, like I enjoy, you know, I know how I want to live my life, especially now. Um, but I was just determined to turn that nightmare into something that it wasn't, and it just wasn't working. And I'm thankful to have. There was many a nights like I prayed. I was just like, God, if you let me get up out of this, I promise I won't. I promise I won't do it again. Like just get back into the relationship because I had already did it and did it again. You know, because when you leave, right, or when you break up, or when you kick out, Susie, I got a crazy police story for you too. You know, it's ridiculous. I was not protected,
Mm.
but I did try to separate a few times, and you know, so then I started praying. I said, I promise I won't get back into nothing like this again. You know, nothing like this again. And it's not even like get into, you know, I promise I won't. I promise I won't come back. I choose me. Like, and then I meant it, right? Because the final separation happened, and then I had to like level my head as a like because I was catapulted into me and him was together like in a relationship, and then we became parents. And so then when I finally go through that hell and he's finally gone, and then you standing there with all this dust kicked up around you
Mhm.
because you'd have been in the fight of your life, right? Financially, emotionally, spiritually, family wise, like you'd have been in a tornado, and there's been a battle on that field, and there's all this dust and debris everywhere.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, what you gonna do now? And I just knew I needed to support my daughters. I knew I couldn't let their backs touch the concrete. So
Yeah.
I worked. I was working at a traditional job, and I loved what I did there. And but I worked long hours, and I worked.
Mm.
That was my priority, first thing. And then that happened, and I was just healing with them, you know. And I encourage women like heal with your babies, especially I healed with mine. I healed with my daughters. They were young. They I you know, they didn't understand what was going on, you know. But when you get that out your house, out your environment, out your mind, I just bonded so tight with my daughters. And this is our unit now. That's what
Mhm.
my bricklaying started, was with my daughters and myself, and just brick by brick. It was hard. It was different. It was emotional. It was tugging. It was disappointing because even though you go through that, there's not a lot of there wasn't a lot of help, you know.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's eye-opening things in there, you know, about. So I just stuck to the code, stuck to the script, took care of my daughters, and kept it safe. And then somewhere in that, a seed was planted in me that was already there. Water started getting to that plant, to that seed that was already in me. And then I started to grow again. I mean, I feel like I've personally lived probably about 7, 8 lives already in this lifetime, because I'm sharing this experience, but I've just had so many different versions of life within me. I feel like I've lived so many different lives, and I'm thankful for that. But since coming out of that relationship, building with my daughters, just an abundance of clarity,
Mm.
and I started to grow. And I have never been this before. So as I started to grow, as my imagination started to grow, as I started to
Yes.
trust more of my intuition and my
Yes.
intuition,
Yes.
laying it heavily on that, and like keeping that personal, direct relationship with God up is what. And so a light went off, water was poured, and things started growing out of me. Hazel Grace Photography came out of me, and Hazel Grace Photography came because my mother passed away when I was a young girl. Okay, so growing up, a lot of me knowing her was through photos. So all
Mm.
through me growing up, elementary, Callahan, middle school, and all through life, all through school, all through life, I always had a camera. I just like taking pictures for
Hmm.
the memory sake of it, right? Because that's how I. So a conversation happened with a family member of mine, a cousin of mine, and he was like, Hazel, why don't you just do photography? And I was like, huh. Shucks. I was like, well, I hear you. I went on and I was like, what if I started studying photography? Because you want to fine tune your gift. That's where the skill is. So
Mm-hmm.
I was self-taught for photography. As I was working my traditional job, I just started somewhere. I loved it. I already loved it. I already liked taking pictures. So that's that part. So now it's
Mm-hmm.
fine tuning it into a skill, and then fine tune even to into a business if you choose to, and then go forward. Melanin mixologist came because I've always enjoyed making sweet treats, and that was just anytime we're having a potluck at church or there's a gathering or something, they're like, okay, Hazel, what you gonna bring? I would just be bringing something sweet, and I enjoy putting different combinations together, that just go well together, and I enjoy doing that. I worked as a baker for 2 years at FSU. I mean, it was something. So then melanin mixologist came about, and I pushed that, and I enjoy doing that. That's my baby. And Oriache was pulled out of me by my own journey, like
Mm.
that. They intertwine. They are part of me, and everything started in me. I didn't have to go looking for something. Like I don't draw very well, so I'm not going to be an architect, but these talents and whatever else is in me, as I go along my journey, I will continue to water, and it will continue to grow as long as my imagination and my mind, and with the help of God, it's all it just takes is focus. And I think so, coming out of that tornado dust fight with that person, I just feel like I found the goddess in me. I found the strength in me. I never knew I could be like so peaceful, so forgiving, successful, financially successful. I never thought I could uh, uplift my family and more by doing what I love to do. If
Mm-hmm.
if you can make somebody else $1 million, you working at somebody else's company, and
Come
you
on,
are working
sis.
and working and working and working, and that's cool. You can love what you do. That's beautiful. but stop and ask yourself, if I'm willing to water their plant because that's their dream, you
Mm-hmm.
working for
Mm-hmm.
their dream, making them all
Yeah.
this and sacrificing, I double dog dare you to try it for yourself. Whatever talent it is, ain't got to be in the spotlight all the time. Maybe you can't get off social media and you always scrolling. Maybe you need to be somebody's content poster or something. Put your energy
Mhm.
somewhere. But
I'm loving
that's
this.
that's how excited I am about life. Even with your hiccup days versus even now, I just thank you, God. Why? Because I'm not there no more. I'm not there mentally no more. I don't have to walk around my house worried that he gonna get an attitude because of this,
Yes.
because of that. I'm free.
Ooh.
Like freedom, you couldn't pay me to regret my freedom. I wouldn't
Mm.
care if my business, I don't care about, I'm not, you know what I mean? You couldn't pay me, not for my mind's sake and not for my daughter's mind's sake. I mean, that's when you're a parent, you're not, if you're, an aware parent, you can't make decisions just based off of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
our kids like sugar, but they can't always eat that. So
That's
you
right.
have to make those decisions about what is right for your mind now and longevity. You may not understand that right now, but I won't feed you poison. And that's my life. That's my responsibility. I won't feed you poison. I don't care how good it look to nobody else. You know,
Mm.
sometimes we're encouraged to keep that image,
Mm. Mm.
which, I couldn't fake that funk. I probably
Mm-hmm.
tried to fake that funk on the outside. It just looked all right, looked good, looked like it's supposed to be. But on the inside, if it's not really that, you wasting your own life. It's a
Yes.
double laugh. And I know
Yes.
that's some tough words, but you don't have time to not live your life as, a woman, a mother, who you are, your future. And then when you go home in the particular abuse I'm talking about, you ought to find peace if nowhere else in your own home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, I gotta go back through Miss Hazel's
Yes.
abuse reparations. She said, listen, this stuff was here the whole time. She
Mm-hmm.
said she just needed the dust to settle.
Mm-hmm.
I really need to bring that part out because I was writing books when that man was still in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I had started 2 LLCs, even with him in my house. That stuff was in there. But when the dust settled, then I was able to gain traction that I had never gained before because I didn't have to keep worrying about the next grenade that's getting ready to go off in the house. I know both of y'all understand where I'm coming from. So Miss Hazel was like, I just waited for the dust to settle. And then I really just started looking at me. Man, wait for the dust to settle and just look at you. This woman said she had been always carrying around a camera. Listen, if y'all have seen, hold up, just hold up. Let me go get my workbook for empowerment through the arts and show y'all Miss
Oh,
Hazel's work. Don't play with me.
so amazing.
Listen,
You came
listen,
through though. Look, it came
listen.
through. And I told you that. I said, look, you can't go wrong with this. Look at her. Mm-hmm.
Y'all, this is Miss Hazel's work, okay? Listen, okay? Listen. When people look at the front of that book, they're like, man, they feel empowered the minute they look at it. And that's what I told her. I'm talking to y'all about abuse reparations. I'm talking to y'all about letting those awakenings and what is already in you get married for your benefit. Remember, our working definition for abuse reparations is When the state that is defeated has to pay the other state for the damage done during the war. All she did was get sharper. That's all she did. She had the camera the whole time. I said, I just need for people to feel empowerment when they look at this. Listen, that's what you feel. When you see this picture, you're like, ooh, something goes ooh inside of you, all through your core.
Oh, thank you, sis. I'm blushing.
Abuse reparations.
Yes,
I'm here to tell
come
you.
on.
I am here to tell you. She said Oriashe was her spirit coming out in tangible form. There are awakenings that come out of things that were rough on us, beautifuls. This is where all of this is going. There are things in every single one of us that come out of the tragedies, that come out of the war. How can you take that thing? How can you mold that thing? How can you marry that to the genius that is already inside of you so that you can make that tragedy pay up? So you can make that tough time pay back? Because it is not just the fact that these women went through these things. That's not the story here. The story is that after they went through these things, they said, okay, let me look at me. What's in me? And what do I want to do with what's in me? And how do I want that to carry forward what's happening next for me? When we're talking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month, yeah, I want you to learn the lesser known types of abuse so that you understand them. Yes, I want you to know that there are culturally relative resources out here that I have personally vetted. I want you to know that I'm on reaching out to me. You can get a list of Black trauma informed therapists here in this area. I want you to know that. I want you to know that we just opened our first community safe space so that Black sisters who realize that they are victims can go to a place that he can't track and be able to do safety planning so they can leave safely. I want you to know those things. But after the abuse, I want you to know that there are things that you can glean like diamonds from a mine that can pay you because you deserve to get reparations from that. You deserve to be paid back from that. You deserve to be restored from that. And you got three faces sitting here looking at you who have done that. Yep, Courageous Fire LLC. I wanted to help other women understand the lesser known types. I wanted there to be things for Black women because when I came out, there wasn't nothing for me. You heard Hazel say, when she came out, there wasn't nothing for her. You heard Miss Susie say, they wanted me to stage an abuse so that they would actually help me get out of abuse. There wasn't nothing out here for us. So I'm building things for us. But you know what else I'm building? I got two queens I'm raising. They're going to get out of high school in about 4 or 5 years. There's going to be something waiting for them from my abuse reparations. You see what I'm saying? Because we deserve to get paid for what we went through. And it doesn't need to come from anybody else. The abuse needs to pay us because the abuse is what took from us. Miss Susie, Susie Sweet Treats, you need to go check her out. Miss Hazel, come on here and give all your handles. Give them up.
Okay, so my name is Hazel Grace. Owner and operator of Ori Ashe. So that's on Instagram, ORI_ASE_. Hazel Grace Photography on Instagram as well. Melanin Mixologist, Instagram as well, and Facebook for all these social handles. And hgexpressions.com. So it's HGX PRESSIONS.com. All my businesses can be found there, and there'll be an introduction of myself on there as well. So please feel free to check us out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Didn't you say you had something coming up, Miss Hazel?
Oh yes, yes, I do. Mm. So,
Come through, Queen.
um,
Tell us about it.
we will be introducing HG code tomorrow. It's going to be released tomorrow. And so we are going to have items and apparel available for people to have HG code on their shirts, hoodies, and then we have the websites on the back. So, and this
Nice.
one says the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So this is going to be our first release, and I'm so excited.
Oh
So
my
check us out. I'll be posting
gosh.
about it and putting it on the website and things like that. So yes,
I love
we
it.
are continuing to move forward always.
I love it. I
Yes.
love it. I
Yes,
love it. I
yes.
wish that things would have acted right for Facebook Live, but this recording is going to go out on all of the pages. So, we're on Facebook, but I'll also put this out on LinkedIn. I'll also put this out on YouTube. I'll also put this out on Instagram and Twitter. So you'll be able to get at it. It'll be on our website too. We'll put it in we'll put a link in our blog so that you can check it out there. But man, look, at the end of the day, I hope that you got some very solid things from this. Number one, we all are completely three different Black women, different ages, different backgrounds, and every single one of us experienced domestic violence. There's no specific look for that, no specific background for that, class for that, any of that. It can strike any person anywhere. There are different types of domestic violence. Some are known, some are not as well known. Even us as the victim survivors, sometimes we didn't even realize all of the types we had dealt with, even on being on the other side. So it is very important to understand the different types of abuse. And so please make sure that you are educating yourself on those types. We're going to have those posted in a blog too, starting next week, so that you can have all of those types right there to be able to refer back to. But you need to subscribe to be able to get access to it, and the subscription is free. Um, and then listen, we're not going through stuff just to be going through stuff. We need to get ours back. When we beat you, abuse, then you need to pay us for the damages. So if you've been through anything, and even if it's not domestic violence, this is something I want all of the sisters watching this now or on the playback to get. If you've been through something and it hurt you, harmed you in any way, took something from you in the present, took out a part of your future, excuse me, get your stuff back. What did you learn from that? How can you take that and the greatness that is in you, marry those things together, and create something that can yield dividends back to you? Because if you can do that, you're making that situation pay you reparations, and you are well worth getting that back. So this is how I do at Courageous Fire LLC Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I do a little different, but then I am different. You don't know nobody else named Courageous Fire. I thank these women so much. Susan, Walder Williams, Hazel, Grace, thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your victories. And thank you for the example that you set for all of us. You guys, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This was our talks. Every time you see that little logo up there, I want you to tune in, because this is where we involve you. Domestic violence with Black women is not just about the Black women. It's about the support we need from our community. And we want you to learn right along with us so we can change the narrative for what happens with Black women regarding domestic violence. I'm Courageous Fire, Susan Walder Williams, Hazel Grace, and we're wishing you a good night. Thanks, y'all. We love you. Bye.
Bye.